But I think I can regard myself, I think, with justice as very much an African writer.
Greetings, Olaiya individuals. Welcome to another Afro-Scot podcast. This is episode 24, and we're going to talk about why Africa is great. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Nigerian novelist, poet, professor, and critic, Chinua Achebe. Now, who's Chinua Achebe? Well, he's the father of authentic African literature, and his greatest accomplishment is showing African culture and life in a way that completely contradicted the animalistic view of Africans and gave many Africans the boldness and courage to believe that they could also become respected writers and also really succeed in the field of writing as well. He's a very well respected man in Africa and in the world.
You can see how everybody gathered just because of one person. It speaks about greatness.
And this is due, of course, because he was involved in so many historical events in Nigeria. For example, the Biafra War. And he also was involved in quite a lot of politics as well. He was vice president of political parties. But not just that, he really wanted to address the issues going on in Africa. He felt passionate and closely tied to his roots, and you can see that a lot in his books as well, as he took a lot of inspiration from Igbo traditions, especially in Things Fall Apart before Konko. And personally, when I read Things Fall Apart, I was really shocked at how an African writer can really display African culture in such a raw and clear way. And I even learned some new things as well. I'm Nigerian myself, and a lot of things I didn't know about Nigeria I found out by reading Things Fall Apart, which was written in the 50s, 1950s, late 1950s. I think he actually wrote the final part in 1957. And it's really important because a lot of, especially as young Africans, we need somebody to show us that we can also achieve great things, and to also show us that we should also love our culture. Our culture is very important and is really who we are. Like Nifela Kuti's song Teacher Don't Teach Me Nonsense, it talks about how many African countries get a lot of the inspiration and ways of living through teachings that aren't their culture. But other countries and continents take their traditions and way of living from their own culture. And I found that to be so profound. And I believe Chinua Achebe really tried to express this in his own work, of actually loving our culture and being able to show it in a raw way. Many writers, Western writers who weren't African, weren't depicting Africa in the right way. I believe that when he read the book Mr. Johnson by Joyce Carey, he wasn't impressed at all. And due to how unimpressed he was, he decided to even write Things Fall Apart, which then led to his successes in politics. He got many doctorates and honorary degrees from different universities, and he's a well-respected man and a huge icon in Africa, especially since he was involved with a lot of the greats as well during the time, like James Baldwin and Langston Hughes, to name a few. But when he was reading Joseph Conrad, he realized that a lot of these Western or British don't really understand our culture, and by an African actually writing a book about our culture in the raw way, as he did, it actually shows Africans in a better light and shows that we're not actually brutish beasts where Europeans can just come anytime they want, or even be afraid of us. That we actually have our whole culture, our whole living, and we're actually, people who are friendly. And I believe that's very important, to really know that as Africans, we should be proud of where we come from, and we shouldn't really stray away too much from our roots. And I believe that's really, really important, as I try to talk about this a lot through this podcast, which is the main purpose, that we shouldn't forget about our roots, and that our roots make us. And that by understanding really our African side, we can then understand our Scottish side as well, as Afro-Scots.
We shouldn't carry this baggage into the 21st century, but I'm not so sure that many people are listening.
So I believe that he's a great example and somebody to really emulate in terms of the greatness in writing and really showing who you are and your identity and expressing it with full confidence, as I believe is important as an Afro-Scot.